Hello everybody and welcome to Astrology. We are going to be giving the rundown on what I've titled the full Hades Aquarian moon coming up at the 30th this month. It's going to be different wherever you are in the world, but I'm down in the southern hemisphere, so it's going to be on the 30th of this month. And before we just get started, I'm just putting out there, which I did in my other videos, that I'm going to be doing an interview with the lovely Lydia Lee, who's an author on Chinese astrology. And I'm an author too, because I've written a book. So we're going to do a live in September. And I'll just stay tuned. I'll give you the dates. And everyone's welcome to jump in on this. And most likely you could get Bazi 4 Pillars Chinese astrological reading during this. So we're going to do this live on my channel, and I'll keep everyone posted on that date. So I just wanted to put that out there first. Now, we're going to run through the full Hades Aquarian moon that is coming up, and at the end I'll briefly run through the 12 signs, the 12 rising signs. And wow, I mean, this is going to be, I think, extremely powerful. And we're coming up to eclipse season as well, which has been rattling a few people as well. I have perceived more so from a clinical perspective, as well as I have done a few charts for people who've had some pretty intense experiences already around this a Leo eclipse coming up at 20 degrees Leo at the next new moon. So I'll be covering that as well, so stay tuned for that. But we have a full moon coming up, a deep transformational moon on a collective level. As Aquarius does rule the crowd, it's a sign of humanity. It's also the sign of the individual. So I think the herd mentality will shift or go through a potential dark night of the soul, which we kind of have been, since this, for a long time. But I think on a collective level, this is going to be extremely deep. And even though the moon in Aquarius can be a little bit detached on an emotional level, especially with Pluto in conjunction and retrograde, there can still be huge emotional shifts. So this is on one level, right? You can call it pretty much a Scorpio moon in disguise, right? But there is more kind of air and what we'd call more intellectual, or I guess analysis around feelings at this time. So full moons are about releasing and letting go. But I think a lot of times around a moon like this, we have to expect that the shadow is going to be evoked at this time. So if we embrace it and alchemize it, then, because full moons always are in opposition to the sun, and the sun at this time is going to be in conjunction to Jupiter in Leo. So when we embrace the shadow, we alchemize it, we're going to reap the benefits of this sun Jupiter conjunction in Leo, with that expansive energy of joy, happiness, enthusiasm for life, goodwill, benevolence, and generosity, these kind of things. But I think in turn, right, because a lot of astrologers would probably say this is the most fortunate aspect. Yes, but when we've got a moon in conjunction to Pluto in opposition, then you're not going to receive the benefits of this Jupiter-Sun conjunction in Leo unless you have done your inner homework, and Pluto won't let you get away with that, right? So I think there's a potential of loss and letting go in order to reap the benefits of the Jupiter-Sun conjunction in Leo, right? And like I said, it indicates joy and happiness, enthusiasm for life, expansion, goodwill, and growth, right? Because Jupiter's all about growth. So, and not to mention, right, sovereignty of self, as Leo rules selfhood, right? Or what is known in Taoism as the imperial self. And this is really important. So, in degree theory, right, this full moon happens at 6 degrees, which is the degree in degree theory is connected to the archetype of the Virgin and Virgo, which rules healing, health, hygiene, analysis, service industries. So I think all of this on a collective level that is going to be impacted at this time. So not only has this moon got a dark side and we can get plummeted into the underworld, but we can also, it's got the Aquarian nature, which is fixed air, right? And sometimes it can be a bit of a blessing, Pluto coming in with the moon, because if we're stuck, which fixed signs are, it can be difficult to let go of certain, especially mental patterns, right? Which Aquarius rules. So this moon with this Virgo degree can have a practical, analytical flavor to it, which can help us navigate the dark emotional waters that can potentially surface at this time. So Virgo is about psychic hygiene as well as bodily, right? And this is important to understand. So a Pluto conjunction to the full moon will arouse deep, dark, unhygienic content within our psyches for purging and refining in order to grow, in order for us to grow and evolve, right? Because ultimately, the main goal in life is fulfilling your curriculum and destiny. So all these kind of planetary aspects that happened are only working in our favor to be able to achieve this. So, and it's interesting because the North Node's about to shift into the sign of Aquarius out of Pisces at this time. And this full moon particularly is connected to, because if people watch my videos, I always connect it to the tarot deacons, right? Well, first into the first decan of Aquarius, which is connected to the 5 Aquarius, the 5 of Swords in the tarot. So the title of this card is Defeat and is connected to the frequency of Venus and Venus in Aquarius. So there's a level of a creative flavor, right, to this in a way. And this card pretty much has a pretty bad rep in the tarot, just because of the card is connected to abuse of power, which has been really getting exposed on a collective level, especially within government, with Pluto in Aquarius in opposition to Jupiter in Leo, right? And the Sun in Leo, because Leo rules the elite. It rules celebrities as well. I mean, if people are paying attention, I mean, the corruption is just pretty blatantly obvious, and a lot of the elite are getting exposed. So the cockroaches are starting to run, right? Once the light sheds on them, what do? They flee. So this is the card of conflict, right, in the tarot, of sabotage, violence, crime, murder, rape, all of which Pluto rules, actually, because it rules the La Cosa Nostra, right? The mafia, the underworld. But on one level as well, I would say Pluto's definitely tied to healing and alchemy, because we have to deconstruct ourselves in order to grow. And Pluto really doesn't give a shit whether you like it or not. That's just going to happen. So, and that's why a lot of people can really suffer with Pluto transits, because they can be deeply unconscious. So this card stresses to discipline emotions, especially anger, which is likely to be aroused at this full moon as it is in conjunction to Pluto. And Pluto is the higher octave of Mars, right, which rules anger, but it's more that infantile rage that can come up. It can be really, really strong. But also this frequency of the 5 of Aquarius or the 5 of Taurus is definitely connected to which a lot of card readers don't really pay attention to on a level, is the frequency, the Venus frequency in the sign of Aquarius. But a lot of famous musicians had this, were in their as their personal decadent, for those who understand this when they give tarot readings. So I think Mozart was one of them who had this. So the reason I'm talking about this is if then we get plummeted into the abyss at this time, then it's very good to use your emotional sensitivity and imagination to channel the volatile energy at this time into something creative. For the creative energy is the secret to balance this, particularly this card and this deacon of that this moon has fallen into. Now, the Sabian symbol is really interesting how it's fallen into this moon, because the Sabian symbol for this moon reads at 7 degrees Aquarius. And the symbol is a child born of an eggshell. Keyword, essentiality. And the theme is creative self-renewal, which is tied into that 5 of Aquarius. And they say that this symbol speaks to new beginnings. So the image of a child born of an eggshell symbolizes rebirth, which is all Pluto, right? It's a rebirth. Destroying, destruction, the phoenix rising from the ashes, that kind of metaphor, to process creating something new. So everyone has within themselves an infinite source of potential, and it is only as this potential is recognized and put into use in the present moment that an individual truly is born. So the emphasis in this symbol is on self-realization, enlightenment, and regeneration. The practical implication of this degree is that the limitations are never an obstacle to achievement, but the means for calling forth inherent potential for greater accomplishment, which can really happen when we go through Pluto's transits, when we get really buried in the shadow, we feel like we've lost everything. This is when the true essence of creativity can really have potential. So on the positive, this symbol represents ingenuity, creativity, and unlimited resourcefulness. On the negative, there is a tendency to give up too easily, or a belief that individuals are simply pawns of circumstance. So today, the accent is on self-realization and rebirth. So mull this over around this new moon. Sorry, this full moon. You may discover a talent or aptitude you didn't know that you had that inspires you to focus in a new direction. And the opportunity, your greatest advantage, lies in refusing to accept limitations and in viewing each day as a new beginning with its own special promise. So the risk is guard against failing to capitalize on your prior experiences in new situations. Avoid burning your bridges behind you when you decide to make a change or move on to something new. So this is, to me, is a very exciting new moon of rebirth and creating your potential in a nutshell. And I'd encourage everyone to do this as best you can. But it will, I got a feeling this moon's going to be really, really big. Really big. I think it'll feel like an eclipse, actually. Now, we'll move on to all 12 rising signs. And we shall start with Aries. So Aries rising will have the full moon in the 11th house. This is the house for wish fulfillment and dreams. So whatever you seeded 6 months ago, are your dreams becoming a reality? Has your wish fulfillment come true since planting the seed from the last eclipse in February? So Pluto conjunct a full moon transiting your 11th house at this time shows a culling and letting go of friendship groups that no longer serve your higher purpose. So the Sun conjunct Jupiter in opposition to the full moon in the 5th house is a good opportunity to channel the heavier energy the full moon into a creative project, that will give you a lot of joy. So if groups and certain social networks have been draining you, which they can potentially have, then expand your creative outlets and hobbies, as this can be a good time to find that outlet that makes you shine, that brings you into the sun. So if groups and things like this have been holding you back, then really dabble into your creativity. So this is a good time to spend with your children as well, as the Sun-Jupiter conjunction in the 5th house does rule children. And it is also a good time for increased growth and wisdom, especially if you go through the dark side of the psyche and start to explore your own inner child dynamics, because the 5th house, it does rule that. It can be your physical children, but also connects to your inner child. And also, if you're out there dating, love relationships will also expand your experience at this time. Taurus rising, this full moon is in the 10th house. Feelings around public image, work, and how you are perceived in the world will be transformed at this time. There can be a big announcement or change around work, romantic relationships, and status in the world. Because the 10th house does rule your status in relationships out in the world, how people see you, right? So this can indicate redundancies at this time, retirement, or complete change of career, especially if you have not been emotionally fulfilled. At this full moon is an interesting dynamic. It is an interesting and dynamic time, as the Sun conjunct Jupiter in the 4th house is pulling you into your inner life, focusing on your home, and family roots. So there's a tension between career and having a stable inner and family life, as Jupiter in Leo conjunct the Sun can bring joy and expansive growth within family dynamics. So you can really learn how to shine in your own home environment. And it's interesting because obviously the aspect Chiron is affecting the moon as well. And I was just looking at the Taurus rising, and Chiron in your 1st house, square to the moon and Pluto from the 10th house, can indicate a challenging and vulnerable time due to an unconscious wound or pain dynamics that can surface. And they can even be made public, right, at this time. When Chiron enters the 1st house, the wounds can become more apparent to us and more visible to others as well. But I just say a moon generally in the 10th house can always make us feel vulnerable within the public eye at this time. So there's this kind of tension dynamic between work and the home environment at this time. Gemini rising, this full moon will be in the 9th house for you. So the house of the higher mind is where the spotlight is for you, in conjunction with the planet Pluto, which will force you to dig deep. The Sun-Jupiter conjunction is in opposition to your 3rd house, which will help release old ideas that have been holding you back, because the 3rd house is very mental. And the moon is also trine Uranus in the 1st, which can stimulate new and unconventional ways of thinking. You may discover this by releasing old ways of thinking, that you find a subject that you're interested in at this time that has a profound depth and will require in-depth focus for you to fully understand it at this time. So when Pluto is actually in the 9th, you can really deconstruct your philosophical views on life and really want to search for meaning and truth on a very, very deep level. So a lot of people tend to probe deeply as Pluto transits this house. So teaching can also be on the cards for you guys, as well as book publishing, as 9th house rules these kind of things. Cancer rising, this full moon will be in your 8th house. You are ruled by the moon, so this is important. The moon rules your chart. Wherever the moon goes, pay attention. Especially a full moon conjunct Pluto in the 8th house, because this is deep psychological transformation on the cards, as a Sun Jupiter conjunction is in opposition to the 2nd house. So this is a very money materialistic type of house as well on one level, but deeply psychological. So business deals may work out in your favor with the Sun Jupiter in opposition. There could be bonuses or financial breakthrough when it comes to paying off debts, because the 8th house is about paying off debts, in terms of joint resources with others. So there could also be a possible pay rise with Jupiter Sun conjunction in the 2nd. Power dynamics will emerge with investments, intimate relationships, lawsuits, and joint resources with others, potentially. Now, Pluto in the 8th can also indicate giving away your power to others. So if you're making financial investments and things like this, make sure you don't give all your power over to someone to make all the decisions. Make sure you do your homework, right? So you don't fall victim, right, of subversive manipulative tactics, right, that can lead to financial loss. That's really important with Pluto there, because things can be hidden. In this case, right, if you're releasing and letting go, if you have had financial difficulties and things like this, you're paying off debts and stuff like this, right, then it can be a time where you can reap the benefits of this, and you may have set your goals from the last new moon and maybe you have actually reached a certain goal where you actually have paid off certain debts to give you the expansive financial freedom with that Sun-Jupiter conjunction in Leo in your 2nd house. But Pluto also plays out through your 5th house. So for others too, right, it can be learning to trust again with dating and relationships as well. Leo rising, this full moon will be in your 7th house, the house of relationship, marriage, clients. All of this comes under the spotlight, right? So the Sun-Jupiter conjunction is in your 1st house currently, which is an extremely optimistic time, right? But the Moon-Pluto conjunction in the 7th house is highlighting shadow in relationships. So any masks that you've been wearing to be liked, to keep the peace, to perform, or if you felt like you actually had to perform, that will not support your authentic self. At this time, you will have to drop it, or it's going to get dropped. Because you're not going to feel the joy of that Sun-Jupiter conjunction in the 1st house if you're playing a game or wearing a facade, right? Especially when it comes to connecting with others, because you're going to get caught out. So the conflict and tension is with who am I versus others with the full moon in the 7th house, right? Because the 7th house is the opposition, others, relationships. This can bring up the question, does the way I've been presenting myself in relationships make me happy? Do they support my authenticity and truly make me happy? The moon rules your 12th house, so it's playing out subconscious tendencies at this time, and with Pluto in conjunction, can certainly draw shadows, right? So any toxic behavior and hidden tensions within marriages and relationships will be exposed at this time. And Pluto won't let you get away with inauthenticity. So the universe will show you under this full moon whether you are meant to be with this person or not, who you actually are with. And if you are, then it goes to a very deeper, intimate level where you have to really expose your vulnerability. It's very important to show your authentic self so you don't fall victim to subversive manipulation and power play, so you not attract snakes, right? Remember that book, Snakes in Suits? There's plenty of those creatures operating in the world. It's also important not to dim your light at this time, especially with the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, because it wants you to shine. So if you're in a relationship and you have to hide, then you will end up suffering at this time. Virgo rising, this full moon is in the 6th house, the house of servants, pets, daily routines, and ill health. This is a good time to slow down and listen to your body this month. The Sun-Jupiter conjunction in opposition in the 12th house, the full moon conjunct Pluto, indicates that you will need rest and sleep at this time. So the dynamics between the unconscious and the body will be really powerful at this time. So Pluto can draw up toxins from the reservoirs, deep reservoirs of the body, and they can surface, right, at this time, especially with Pluto going through the 6th house, right? And Pluto rules the cells. So from a health perspective, it's very, I think, probably the deepest kind of cleansing medicine if people want to do this to help, because full moons are all about releasing. So if you want to release toxins, it's a very good time to do a detox. I would say probably the best way is to do it through homeopathy, because homeopathy is plutonic medicine and it rules the cells. So I'd also say, because the 6th house is the house of health, so keep an eye on your pet's health at this time. And Aquarius does rule, from a health perspective, the Venus circulation, the rhythm of the pulse, Achilles, calf and ankles, right? So the pulse rhythm is ruled by Uranus. And I emphasize that because I do Chinese medicine, so we're always taking pulses clinically. So prioritizing rest and inner work at this time will definitely help you heal your body, mind, and spirit. And this can be a good time to let go of a toxic environment, especially if it's been affecting your health, a toxic work environment. So it's a good time to let it go if you've been suffering, your health's been suffering on that level. So Libra rising, this full moon is in the 5th house for you guys, probably the happier house. I would say hobbies, romance, risk, creative projects are highlighted in a profound way, right? With the Pluto conjunction, with your moon at this time. Profound changes can happen when taking risks to be creative and authentic. The Sun-Moon opposition in the 11th suggests opportunities to shine in group dynamics. But the Pluto opposition, right, will want you to operate from what's truly in your heart, right? Because the 5th house rules the heart. And so, it's important to do that. Hang around people who actually fulfill you feel your inner life, right? Not just surface level. There can be profound changes that happen to your children at this time. And if that's the case, they may hold you back from the social engagements that you may have going on, because the Sun-Jupiter conjunction in Leo in the 11th house can really expand our social networks at this time. And some people, there can be things going on with your children that, you might not be able to get to them all. So it can be a good time to let go and release a certain image that we have been presenting ourselves as well, particularly in social groups. A love affair too, right, may have a profound effect on you that can completely change the way you're perceived in social settings. But on the whole, superficial experience will not attract you, and whatever you are creating at this time, you can get really into it and very possessive about with the Pluto moon conjunction in the 5th. Scorpio rising, this full moon is in the 4th house. So personal, it's a really personal house, the 4th, because it's our roots, the roots of our being. Personal illuminations can occur with the full moon in the 4th house. Home, property, and family, ancestry come into play. And with the Pluto conjunct the moon, deep transformations can occur on a psychological level as well as an ancestral one. right? Because the fourth house is one of the basement of our being, right? It's the houses of our ancestry, and Pluto there, right? You can bring up the concept as it's transiting of ancestral trauma. And that's a whole other subject in itself, one that's always fascinated me over the years. And for those interested in that, then you need to look into Velikovsky's work, this kind of thing. But this can really get aroused with Pluto in this house. So the transformations will be personal and private, and will alter how you are seen in the world, with a Sun-Jupiter conjunction in the 10th house, in the opposite, right? So you're getting lit up in the world with the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, and that will happen, right, when we process our own shadows from our family lineage as well. So there's going to be, we need to be doing the inner work behind the scenes to be able to shine out into the world. Also, on a different note, Pluto rules renovations at the home. So for those renovations for everyone could be coming to a completion at this time, for those who've started them, because of full moon's about completions, right? And renovations and changes on the home. But also, I'd say Chiron is square the moon and Pluto from your 7th house. So whatever changes you've been going through on the home front will create tension in relationships, right? Or wounds that have surfaced from the past due to family issues can be currently affecting your personal relationships at this time. These wounds and issues that surface at this time will help you change and elevate your status in the world. So the greater you put into transformation at this time will enhance your ability to shine in the world. Sagittarius rising, this full moon for you guys is in the 3rd house, so the house of your mind, right? Local environment, siblings, real short journeys, short courses, this kind of thing. Your neighbors, it's kind of the 3rd house is... It's got quite a number of functions. It actually rules divination too, for those who don't know about that. But your mind will probe deep, right, with the moon Pluto conjunction in the 3rd house. The detective mind can kick in, right? And with the Sun Jupiter conjunction in opposition to the 9th house, what you have learned will deeply transform into higher wisdom at this time. And this is really cool, that those dynamics, actually, because the 3rd house is the lower mind, the 9th is the higher. So those deep inner transformations that you go to with the Pluto moon in the 3rd can really transform your philosophical outlet in the world. So the planet Jupiter is the lord of your chart and is currently in conjunction, right, with the 9th house. So great truths and wisdom can be revealed at this time on a philosophical level, through travel, higher education, foreign lands and cultures. I just say watch for negative thinking patterns with the Pluto moon conjunction in the 3rd. And a good way to break these is to go travel and get out into the world and experience a different outlook on life. Because your thinking may get quite heavy with Pluto in the 3rd. That's all I would say. And if that's the case, actually, interestingly enough, the moon and Pluto are trine Uranus in the 7th. The 7th house rules consultants, and Uranus rules astrologers. So it's actually a good time to get an astrology reading as well, I would say. Capricorn rising, this full moon is in your 2nd house. House of money, resources, self-values and self-esteem. So huge transformation of values is on the cards at this time with you, and major changes in your finances. The Sun-Jupiter opposition in the 8th house is the house of intimacy, secrets, shared resources and psychological shedding. So the essence of this full moon is to release old survival mechanisms around money and self-worth, because Pluto's about survival. It's the survival instinct. At times when Pluto transits the seconds, we have to go along with less material than we're used to, because there's a deconstructive process when it comes to our resources. This does indicate poverty. This does not indicate poverty, but can indicate a deconstruction of our finances, like I said. So we may have to lose something to rebuild, or we may have lost investments, but then Pluto's going to give us the ability to lose everything and build everything again. So you just got to remember that, because we all have winning seasons and losing seasons in life. This is really important to understand. The same can be said of our own personal values, self-love, and dynamic transformation will occur with the perception of ourselves during this time. So the Sun-Jupiter opposition in the 8th does indicate a positive in terms of getting a loan, or getting a loan approved at this time, or a financial win, which could come as a form of inheritance or money, or from a tax return, right? So it's important under this full moon actually to know your worth and fight for your own personal values. Fight for valuing yourself in order to release control or a scarcity mindset, especially if we've been struggling a little bit financially. So it is only our inner values really that we have control over, and I think that's what Pluto's really trying to get us to understand, because Pluto rules wealth, but it also rules inner gold. And there's a great book by psychologist Robert Johnson who really put that really well into a metaphor there about the inner gold that Pluto actually really rules. So that's worth reading. But yeah, a deep transformational time with financially and of self-evaluation for the Capricorn rising. Aquarius rising, this full moon is in your first house. So the spotlight is on you, right? Under this moon. So the first house is your body, it's yourself, it's reshaping how you present yourself to the world. Will happen, right? In the first house is how we present ourselves to the world. So Pluto rules the cusp of the 10th house, right? So any changes you make to yourself are going to be extremely visible to the world. So you can be going through a professional rebirthing period at this time. So there can be a physical metamorphosis that is taking place with Pluto in the first, because it rules the physical body. So there can be, real transformation of your physical experiences at this time. Pluto going over the first, particularly if it's close to the ascendant, is really not an easy time, because you're deconstructing your whole way you perceive the world and how you present to yourself to the world. So transformations to your body that have been taking place since Pluto entered the first house are going to be deeply visible to people. So the Sun-Jupiter opposition in the 7th, in terms of relationships, shows that you are kind of happy on the exterior while there's deep personal inner changes going on. And you guys too might be finding it hard to wear an old mask to keep up face value appearances for others, right? But if you're feeling tested emotionally at this time, it's really positive for you guys actually, with the Sun-Jupiter opposition in the 7th house, to find a really a therapist, because Jupiter rules this, or a teacher of some kind, right? That can really help you navigate those feelings of those deep inner transformations that you've been feeling at this time. Pisces rising, this full moon is in your 12th house. So this is the house of inner healing, health, the house of the kitten, secret enemies, the psyche, right? a time of retreat, rest. So it's a great time to release and transmute subconscious drives and hidden skeletons in the closet, because they're going to get revealed, right? Not comfortable when Pluto navigates this terrain of the chart. So shadows will get revealed as Pluto moves through the terrain of the 12th house, and in conjunction to the moon, old feelings can surface that are hard to pinpoint where they come from, right? So you got to just really be creative with your inner work and rest, retreat, recuperate, get into things that help connect to the shadow or connect what messages are coming to you about yourself that are a bit dark and hidden. So pay attention to your dream life. Do things, do the active imagination, do the tarot cards to try and draw out what's been hidden and come to the surface. So the Sun-Jupiter opposition is taking place in your 6th house, which shows an expansion in your daily work routines. And it can indicate new job opportunities will come your way, and your health will improve if you're willing, only if you're willing to let go of unconscious or subconscious drives that have held you back from expansion. So this is a good time to tune into yourself through meditation, retreat, and explore your shadow, so greater healing can take place at this time. So that's my take on the Aquarian Hades full moon, everyone. And stay tuned. I'm going to do another video I've put out there. I'm going to be doing, it's coming up on an unaspected Venus. That's my next one. And we'll probably follow another one up on the eclipse. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And we'll be in touch soon.